It was a bright spring afternoon in May of 1915. The ocean was calm, the sky clear, and a luxury liner carrying nearly 2,000 souls cut wastefully through the waters of the Atlantic. Mothers tucked their children into bed. Couples enjoyed tea and laughter. And then, suddenly, the calm was shattered. A single torpedo ripped through steel. Fire erupted, and within just 18 minutes, one of the greatest ships in the world was gone. This was not just the story of a sinking. It was the spark that would change the course of World War I, ignite international outrage, and bring the world one step closer to total war. Tonight, we uncover the forgotten tragedy of the RMS Lusitania, a moment of horror and betrayal that the world could never quite forgive. But was it truly just a tragedy, or something far more sinister? To understand the Lusitania, we must step back into the world of 1915. The First World War had raged for less than a year, but already Europe was drowning in blood. The Western Front had descended into a nightmare of trenches, barbed wire, and endless artillery fire. Thousands died each day. Yet across the Atlantic, the United States remained neutral, watching the chaos unfold with growing unease. At the same time, the ocean became a battlefield. Britain, desperate to choke off Germany's supplies, had imposed a naval blockade. Germany struck back with a weapon the world still considered new and terrifying, the submarine, or as they called it, the U-boat. For centuries, wars were fought on open battlefields, where armies clashed face to face. But the U-boat changed everything. It was stealthy, invisible beneath the waves, and capable of striking without warning. Germany declared the waters around Britain a war zone, warning that any ship, civilian or military, was a potential target. The oceans were no longer safe. Into this storm sailed the RMS Lusitania. Built by the Cunard Line, she was a floating palace, renowned for her speed, her elegance, and her size. She was the pride of Britain's merchant fleet, capable of crossing the Atlantic in less than 5 days. Wealthy passengers, celebrities, and families alike traveled aboard her, mingling with crew and immigrants seeking a better life in America. But beneath her polished decks, the Lusitania carried more than just passengers. Rumors swirled that she also carried contraband munitions hidden in her cargo holds. If true, then she was not just a passenger ship, but a legitimate target in the eyes of Germany. The German embassy in Washington even placed newspaper warnings, begging travelers not to board her. Most dismissed it as empty propaganda. After all, who would dare attack a ship filled with civilians? Surely even war had its limits, right? On May 1st, 1915, the Lusitania departed from New York Harbor. On board were nearly 2,000 men, women, and children. Among them, wealthy financiers, poor immigrants, artists, scholars, and even infants in their mother's arms. Captain William Turner commanded the ship, a man of experience and calm authority. He knew the risks of the Atlantic crossing. Reports of U-boats off the Irish coast were growing. The British Admiralty even sent warnings urging caution. Turner ordered extra lookouts. Zigzag courses were recommended. And yet, the Lusitania pressed on at nearly full speed. Each passing day drew her closer to danger, and in the waters near Ireland, a German submarine, U-20, commanded by Captain Walter Schwieger, waited silently. It was May 7, 1915. The Lusitania approached the southern coast of Ireland, the old head of Kinsale just within sight. Passengers crowded the decks, enjoying the sunshine, the rolling waves, and the illusion of safety. But beneath the calm waters, U-20 lurked. Schwieger spotted the Lusitania's massive silhouette through his periscope. To him, she was a prize too great to ignore, a symbol of British arrogance and naval power. He gave the order. At 2:10 p.m., a single torpedo left the submarine.
It cut through the water silently, unseen by those on deck. Seconds later, impact. The torpedo struck the Lusitania's starboard side, just beneath the bridge. The explosion was devastating. Steel twisted, water surged in, and then an even greater blast followed. Some said it was the boilers. Others whispered it was hidden munitions igniting. Whatever the cause, the effect was catastrophic. Panic erupted. Lifeboats swung wildly as terrified passengers rushed the decks. Mothers clutched their children, desperately searching for safety. The ship listed sharply to one side, making many lifeboats impossible to launch. Some capsized, others crashed into the sea half empty. Within 18 minutes, the Lusitania was gone. Over 1,190 lives were lost, men, women, and hundreds of children. Entire families vanished into the sea. Survivors described scenes of unimaginable horror. Children torn from their parents' arms, lifeboats smashed by falling debris, and bodies scattered across the water. It was a nightmare from which the world could not wake. News of the Lusitania's destruction spread across the world within hours. In Britain, shock turned quickly to rage. The sinking was branded not just as an act of war, but as an atrocity, a crime against humanity. Newspapers filled their front pages with harrowing stories of children drowned, mothers lost, families obliterated. The image of a luxury liner carrying civilians sent to the bottom by a single torpedo seared itself into the public consciousness.
In Germany, however, the reaction was far different. Many celebrated the strike as a victory against Britain's blockade, proof that the U-boat could cripple even the mightiest ships. Yet not everyone was proud. Some German officials feared the attack would backfire, turning neutral nations against them. And they were right. No nation reacted more fiercely than the United States. Among the dead were 128 American citizens. The U.S. had long resisted involvement in Europe's war. President Woodrow Wilson believed America should remain a beacon of peace, standing apart from Europe's bloodshed. But the Lusitania forced him into a corner. Outrage filled the streets of New York and Washington. Newspapers screamed headlines demanding justice. Many declared that Germany had crossed a line, that no nation could slaughter civilians with impunity. And yet, Wilson hesitated. War was not what America wanted in 1915. The U.S. was divided. Some leaned toward Britain, others favored neutrality, and millions of German Americans opposed entering the war against their ancestral homeland. Wilson issued stern diplomatic protests, but he stopped short of declaring war. For now, America remained out, but the Lusitania had planted a seed, a wound that would never fully heal. Almost immediately, the sinking of the Lusitania became a weapon in the propaganda war. Britain painted Germany as monsters, murderers of women and children. Posters appeared showing drowning mothers, infants clutched in their arms beneath the words, "Enlist today." Recruitment soared as anger spread. But hidden beneath the outrage was a darker, more complicated truth. The Lusitania, it turned out, was carrying munitions, over 170 tons of rifle ammunition and shell casings, disguised within her cargo. Germany had warned of this possibility. To them, the Lusitania was no innocent passenger liner, but a vessel aiding Britain's war effort. And yet these details were suppressed, downplayed, or denied by Britain. Why? Because the narrative of innocent lives destroyed was far more powerful than the messy reality of a ship carrying both passengers and arms. So, was the Lusitania a victim or bait? The sinking did not immediately bring the United States into the war. That moment would come 2 years later with the infamous Zimmermann telegram and unrestricted submarine warfare. But the Lusitania was the first domino, the tragedy that turned American opinion against Germany. Before the Lusitania, Americans saw the war as distant, Europe's tragedy alone. After the Lusitania, many began to see Germany as a threat, as a danger that could not be ignored. The ship's destruction marked a turning point in global opinion, one that shifted the balance toward eventual U.S. entry. Without the Lusitania, America's path into war might have been slower, uncertain. With it, the course of history tilted. For the survivors, the nightmare never ended. Some had watched loved ones slip beneath the waves, their cries echoing across the ocean. Others lived with the guilt of surviving when entire families were gone. One woman, saved by a lifeboat, awoke in a hospital, only to learn her husband and 2 children had drowned. Survivors' testimonies became part of the propaganda, but also part of history's haunting record. Their voices told of a world where safety could vanish in seconds, where modern war respected no boundaries. Today, the sinking of the Lusitania is overshadowed by the later horrors of World War I. The trenches, the Somme, Verdun, the millions lost in the mud of Europe. But in 1915, the Lusitania was a name on every tongue. It was more than a ship. It was a symbol of innocence destroyed, of war's cruelty, of the dangerous line between civilian and combatant. It forced the world to confront a terrible truth. In modern war, there are no safe havens. The ocean itself had become a grave.
The Lusitania story is one of elegance and tragedy, of propaganda and secrets, of a single torpedo that shook the world. It was a moment when the rules of war shattered and the future of global conflict changed forever. But here's the haunting question. Was the Lusitania truly just a victim of German aggression? Or was she sacrificed in silence, her passengers used as pawns in a much greater game of war? History leaves us with no easy answers, only ghosts, whispers, and the cold memory of lives lost at sea. If you found this story as powerful and tragic as I did, I invite you to subscribe to Secrets of History. Together, we uncover the hidden moments, the betrayals, and the mysteries that shaped our world. And if you want to continue this journey, don't stop here. On the end screen, I've linked another powerful story, the assassination of Julius Caesar, betrayal of Rome. It's a tale of ambition, politics, and one of the most shocking betrayals in history. Click it now, and I'll see you there.